I'm coming. If you hand over to government to maintain, the budget the money and share it.
To live in that particular place that the house is. So it's supposed government to really compensate them so that and pay them and relocate them to where they are going and build another house for them.
Careful engineering and management to meet human needs.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fumi Ajayi, for that question concerning the system failures, and that you've seen quite a few in Nigeria, and you were kind of surprised to know that systems do fail here in the US, regardless of the location, whether it's in Nigeria or in Europe or here in the US. I believe human behaviors are the same. Any system that is not properly maintained will fail. Even the human body, if we don't check it up or take care of ourselves, the system will fail. So a typical example is the case of Texas last February 2021, whereby those on the Texas grid lost power for about a week. We had the weather incident whereby the power grid froze, and those that had the wind turbines, that had solar panel, everything froze because of the sudden weather drop. And millions of people here in Texas were without electricity for almost a week.
So how did they cope?
Some people had to use their gas, natural gas, as heating to warm up their homes. Some people left and traveled to other parts of the country. And I was fortunate I was connected to the national grid, so I didn't lose power. But to prevent things like that, my question was, what if the national grid had failed? Then I wouldn't be without power. So to prevent things like that, I have started using my hydropower system that we've developed at Prime Grid to connect power that we're generating independently. So we want to experience what's called energy independence. And so we don't have to depend on the failure of the grid or a grid collapse until we enjoy electricity. So we incorporated our hydropower system to connect it to the lake, whereby the water is pumped up, and then the turbine on the way back is the power by turbine.
Okay.
Thank you.
And you mentioned that they had the national grid and you have state grid, which means in Nigeria we should work towards having a state grid, national grid, and mini grids or microgrids, and all that.
Yes, distributed systems. We call it the smart grid system. Like I was mentioning before, the British, that they gave us a one-way grid.
Yeah.
Whereby you have the generating system that goes all the way to the transmission, and then from the transmission to the distribution. So in Nigeria, we call them the GENCOs, the TCN, and then the DISCOs.
DISCOs, yeah.
I believe there are 11 DISCOs in Nigeria, and those are the distribution systems. So what happens is that everybody follows the same line. When there's a failure on one of those lines, the whole grid fails. But in this particular case in the US, they do have different grids. Like we have the national grid as well as each state. Texas has its own grid. So that means that when there's a failure on one grid, the other people on the other grids can actually enjoy electricity. Now, what we are proposing in Nigeria is the smart grid system. That is, we call it the distributed agile system, whereby not only are the grids separate, but they are separate and equal. That means if one grid fails, the other grids can come together like brothers and share their power to the system that has failed. And what that happens is it helps the segment that has failed to self-heal without the consumers even knowing that the grid has failed. So we hope we can get there with this renewable energy integration that we are trying to bring. We will need the support of different independent power producers to have a formidable grid integration system, what we call the mini grids, the microgrid systems, whereby every community can be a producer rather than just be a consumer. We call it the prosumers, whereby you produce what you need, and then if you have enough, you can actually distribute or sell to other users around your
Community or
your
something.
community. And each state can have their own grid, you know. So I believe we can get there.
Okay. Do you think it's so expensive for individuals or for investors to put that money for this kind of project?
The question is yes and no. I think the electricity market is very lucrative for investors. Investors are looking to fund projects all around the world, especially in Africa, because the market is huge and the demand is high. That said, the problem why investors have not been so forthcoming with funding projects in Africa to a large extent has been the variability and the complexity associated with government regulations, instability. You know, you have situations with security issues whereby you can invest in a project and millions of dollars, and then you have issues with banditry and terrorism, and those things affect business. So those are some of the instability issues that has not really made foreign investments to be lucrative. But that said, we've seen multiple foreign investors, both as well as local investors, providing funding for the energy market, especially as regards to electricity. So I think with the proper awareness, with the proper education, our people will be able to enjoy what they really deserve. I think electricity is a basic human right, and I believe if the lack of electricity is something that nobody should accept. Everybody should be able to go to sleep knowing that there's power to power their appliances.
I'm coming. If you hand over to government to maintain, the budget the money and share it.
To live in that particular place that the house is. So it's supposed government will compensate them so that and pay them and relocate them to where they are going and build another house for them.
Careful engineering and management to meet human needs.